So this is Screamarts. Welcome to the little overview of my track Get Physical. We're gonna look at this track today that you can all remix, and we're gonna start with the drums. So always label your groups. I always do it normally, so you can find it later better, and it's better organized. Pretty simple drums here. That's a snare. Yeah, that was an alternative snare. I can delete that. So the snare consists of a snare sample that I made, then a layer from Addictive Drums, pretty standard, just EQ'd. Another layer, and another layer for some extra crisp with some ring modulation on it, and then later on EQ'd and dragged through a vocoder. Yeah, and that's nothing. And together it makes this. It's a nice little snare. And I always add glue compression on the basses. So this is my snare group, not bass group, and these are my drums, and I also glue them there again. And I do some mid-side EQing, so there's so it's mono in the low frequencies, and an L2 to really push it in this case, or to not have any peaks. This is an older kick that I used. It has a kick sample in there. This is how it sounds without it, and this is how it sounds with. And nowadays I would add a high pass on that, only on the noise. Yeah. So these are the hats. It says "Duck Me" here. The reason is that every element has transients. Let me check the time. Every element has transients, which can interfere with the transients of your kick. Transient is always the click that starts the kick. For example, there's tiny click, you can hear it if we go in here. So that's the transient. And we always want to cut a little bit of the drums. And I do that with volume automation. So the transient of the hi-hat doesn't interfere or clash with the transient of the kick. Same goes with the snare. That's why there's this volume automation as well. So it's just a pure transient of the snare, which I always want. That's why I do this process also on the bass group. Which is here. Sorry. That's why you should label it. Bass. And here I have it on the snare again. Yeah, just to duck it whenever the snare hits, just so you can hear it better. And here I actually use some side chaining for the kick. So each time the kick plays, notes get stuck. Pretty standard. Yeah. I cannot talk a lot about the bass because I already bounced it. I work on little details like that makes it really stand out. So in this case, I just had a ring modulator on the original bass and some EQ, so you only hear the highs. And give it this little crispy thing that comes in once in a while. Very subtle, this kind of stuff, but I think in the end it makes a difference. That's just one of the stabs. This is a whole thing I did. That's what I always do. I try to bounce like a whole bass line with all its variations, and then I take the best parts of it. What, it glitches around a bit right now. What is going on? So. And this kind of bass lines, this one in particular is just a Reese bass that is then resampled and filtered. So how I do this kind of stuff, I filter with the Pro Q because it's very nice for filtering actually. So how I would normally do this is just taking the Pro Q, 3 or 2, it really doesn't matter. In this case I used the 2, but now I have the 3, so I upgraded. I used the bell kind of shape, but that just naturally happens when you make a point and just pull it down like that. And I would just modulate the frequency pretty randomly. And see how it sounds. Since it already has a lot of this movement, you cannot really hear what I'm doing. I would take a second one. Since my CPU is okay, I can do this kind of stuff. Otherwise, you can just open a second one and do it with the second one as well. I sometimes like just take another one, since I am deleting it a lot of the times afterwards. And I kept doing this and distorting it, so I get this kind of movement. It's actually a trick that you use in sine compression a lot, and there's a really great tutorial from Frequent, and you can use that. Sorry, the neighbors are really loud today. So, what else do we have here? The bass group. It's just the operator. Very simple. Here we have the operator with some ring modulation and some EQ. And if you distort that together, or in this case add a drum bus, you get this nice kind of bassline sound. That's just some bloops and bleeps. Some weird little sound layer. It was a water sample I recorded. I put it through this modulation. Get this weird sound. Yeah. This is actually a sample of a friend making a really weird sound with his mouth. And I just made it into a synth sound in a way. So it's just a vocal. The really neat trick is to take each sample and transpose it a little bit different to the other one. You get a really ghostly kind of effect from that. Yeah, that's basically it. That one. Some kind of sample that I just chopped up and added a bunch of effects on it. Yeah, that's basically it. Intro is pretty standard. Just a reversed vocal sample. That's just some weird percussion thing, but that fits tonally. It's a very simple sounding serum bassline. Nothing to it. There's an extra operator layer with some crazy stereo effects. It's also some kind of vocal. It's vocals again, where I just layered them and transposed them differently so they would make chords. Yeah. Of course, this one, just a cut from a sample. Some little effects. And that's basically it. I hope you learned a little bit, and I hope you have fun doing the remix.